All right, I think we'll get started. Welcome everyone to the public open house for 2022 trunk water main improvements for the city of Hopkins. My name is Nick Amatuccio. I'm the project engineer with Bolton & Mink. So the trunk water main through the city of Hopkins runs along almost the entire perimeter of the city, shown in the blue line here on this slide. It connects the water treatment plant shown at the north end of the city down to two water towers at the south end of the city. The trunk water main consists of the larger diameter water main throughout the city, typically 16 to 18 inches in diameter. We're going to be focusing on our project area, which is highlighted in red, which is Robinwood Lane from the water treatment plant down to Highway 7, and then along the north side of Highway 7, along with some crossings of Highway 7 from 17th Avenue to 5th Avenue. Back in 2016, we did a water main condition analysis with the city and Ecologics using non-deconstructive conditions to determine the thickness of the pipe wall diameter, comparing it to the original diameter when it was installed to what the diameter is or was in 2016. Some of the findings showed that a couple of the segments shown in red showed significant pipe wall thickness decreases of over 30%. This is considered to be critical, and pipes with over 30% of wall thickness loss could fail at any time. This is to note that this is an average loss in wall thickness. So while some of the areas of these segments could be better and in fine condition, other areas could be much worse, and probably are much worse, and could have over half of the thickness lost. That being said, the areas shown in green and yellow that are shown to be good or average are probably also have some pinpoint areas that are worse and could fail in the near future. And also considering that this test was taking almost 6 years ago, not two, that the pipe is probably in generally worse condition. This is an important area for the water main system in the city of Hopkins, obviously being right by the water treatment plant and being the trunk water main that supplies the entire city. If any of these segments were to go down at any time, it could greatly impact the water supply to parts or most of the city. So that's why we're doing this project and the problem that we're facing. So the solution and how we're going to attack it, we have a few options on how to improve the water main. First being replacement via open cut excavation. This is kind of the most typical replacement method and what the city has done on many construction projects in past years. Basically every street and utility project they do each year. Basically just doing an open cut trench, replacing the existing old cast iron pipe water main, typically with new ductile iron pipe water main. Another method is actually a trenchless method of rehabilitation. This is CIPP lining or cured in place pipe lining, which essentially takes a plastic liner, a deflated liner that they slip through the existing pipe and then expand that liner and then heat it up and cure it through a steam process or water heating process until it's hardened and basically forms a new plastic pipe on the inside of the existing pipe. Even though most of this method is trenchless, there is still some open cut excavation pits as shown in the pictures to dig down at each connection, at valves, and every several hundred feet at minimum to cut open a small piece of the existing water main to slip that liner. A third replacement method is another trenchless method. This would be horizontal directional drilling. This would be to drill in a new water main, typically a flexible pipe material on a new alignment, and then abandon the old pipe in place. Again, while this is mostly a trenchless method, there are excavation pits for the drilling pit on one end, and then a receiving pit on the other end, typically 400 plus feet apart. We'll also have to dig down for connections and installation of valves and hydrants. So which method are we going to use? The answer is all of them, or a combination of them. So going from west to east in the project area, along 17th Avenue or crossing 17th Avenue just south of Highway 7, and then crossing Highway 7 right along Hopkins Crossroad. We're going to be directionally drilling in that water main to stay out of that busy intersection as much as possible. And then from Hopkins Crossroad to Robinwood, just north of Highway 7 underneath the existing trail, we're going to propose to open cut excavate that water main and replace that. And then on Robinwood Lane up to the water treatment plant, we'll be looking at doing the CIPP lining process within the existing water main. And then across Highway 7 along that same alignment down to the south towards 15th Avenue, we'll be looking at drilling in a new water main there under the highway. Then continuing to the east from Robinwood through 12th Avenue, we'll be looking at directionally drilling in that water main as well. And then same with the crossing under Highway 7 towards 12th Avenue. We'll be looking at directionally drilling in that as well. Going to the east from 12th Avenue, we'll be doing CIPP lining all the way to Oak Ridge or 5th Avenue North. And then finally, we'll be directionally drilling under the highway towards Wayside Road along 5th Avenue. So probably one of the main concerns for property owners in the area is when is this project happening and when is each part of the project starting. So this project is happening in the summer of next year, 2022, likely starting in early May, depending on how late the winter goes. We'll be starting in phase 1 that would be 17th Avenue crossing and the area north of Highway 7 from Hopkins Crossroad to Robinwood, as well as the 15th Avenue Highway 7 crossing and the 5th Avenue Highway 7 crossing. This is proposed to start in May and go through July. Now these dates are just estimated, but should give a good ballpark for when the construction will happen, but could change depending on contractor schedule and weather. Moving on to phase 2A, that would include the North Service Drive section from Robinwood to 12th Avenue and the 12th Avenue crossing across Highway 7. And then phase 2B, that would happen, phase 2A would happen between July and August. And then phase 2B would be August to October. And that would include Robinwood Lane from North Service Drive to the water treatment plant and the remainder of North Service Drive east of 12th Avenue North all the way to Oak Ridge. So the typical construction process and schedule for each individual phase, there'll be about 1 week of setup and removal of pavements, then about 4 to 8 weeks of utility work. Now this does vary quite a lot between phases, with phase 2A being the shortest, phase 1 being the longest, just depending on how much pipe they need to do in each phase and the method of installation. Restoration of turf, driveways, pavement, trail, sidewalk will take roughly 3 weeks for each phase. So total duration for each phase, we're looking at about 8 to 12 weeks with overlap between phases, meaning they could be doing the restoration of phase 1 while at the same time starting the removals and utility work on phase 2A. There will be some impacts during construction to residents, even though this is mostly a trenchless project. To minimize impacts, there will still be some. One of those being temporary water shutdown, which there will be several of, considering this is a major water main improvement project. However, notices will be delivered to affected properties 24 to 48 hours in advance of a typically 4 to 8 hour long shutdown. And then there will also be a temporary water system installed to maintain service during construction and to minimize the amount of water shutdowns that we need to do. There will also be some temporary access restrictions to residents during construction. This will be due to a few different items, one of them being the temporary water lines. Part of that temporary water system that I just mentioned requires the use of temporary water lines that go mostly above ground, and while we'll bury it at some intersections and driveway crossings, there will also be some areas where I'll have to stay above ground. The excavation pits for the installation of the water main, sometimes we try to pick those pits in a green area or area outside of traffic, but sometimes we just can't. We have to connect it to existing water main, and it's right in the drive lane, and we got to close the road and provide a detour or alternate route. And then last being concrete driveway aprons. If one of these excavation pits happened to disturb a concrete driveway, we would be restoring that, pouring new concrete in its place. However, new concrete will take a minimum 3 days and up to 7 days to fully cure or harden before traffic can drive over it again. There's a website for the project that is currently set up where you can find information about the project, schedule, project documents such as this presentation will get uploaded to the website. And you can also sign up for email and text updates, which will be sent out on a regular basis leading up to and during construction. The website is hopkins-trunkwatermain.com. Looking ahead to the rest of the project schedule, tonight is the public open house. End of January, we'll be going to City Council to ask for their approval of the final plans and to authorize bidding. On March 4th, we'll open bids from contractors. March 15th, we'll go back to the council to ask them to award the contract to the low bidder. And then May to October would be construction. The current total estimated project cost is $4 million. And since this is a utility maintenance project, no special assessments are proposed to any of the property owners. It would be all funded through general taxes and the city's utility funds. So main project contacts are myself, project engineer at Bolton & Mink, and then Eric Klingbeil, Hopkins City Engineer. Our contact info is also on the website. Thank you, and we can open up to questions if there are any at this time.